Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship here with another Velocity Banking review video. And I'm going to continue discussing what I call the Velocity Banking poker face. So, did you know every time I show Velocity Banking to people in real life, I've never seen people actually get excited about wanting to learn more about the topic, and then I showed them things like paying off 3 homes in 10 years, and we live in a world where the average person doesn't even pay off a 30-year mortgage within 30 years. They usually pay it off in, like, 40 or 50 because of refinances and stuff, right? And so I'm quite amazed of how if I show how to pay off 3 homes in 10 years, there's absolutely no emotion, from the side of the audience that I'm presenting to. I've never in a million years would have imagined that this would happen. It's like showing the cure to cancer, and then the audience acts like they're not impressed, right? Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but it to me, like, if I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom, let's be excited and take it and do whatever we can to get to the next level, right? And I guess that's what I'll just do today, just kind of do a repeat of last time because sometimes whenever I show these things and I don't see any emotion on the other side, I'm just like, well, maybe it's not that impressive. Maybe whatever I've done is not as cool as I thought it would be. And by the way, if you don't know who I am, I paid off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months, and so um, it's a little bit more than a year since that happened, which is kind of mind blowing, right? Just me over a year, just telling people I paid off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months, right? So not a big deal. Don't worry. Let's move along, right? Nothing to see here. And we'll probably do that when I pay off 3 houses in about 10 years, right? Nothing to see here, just let's move along, right? And by the way, I'll just skip the part where we do velocity banking on the personal side. I mean, velocity banking, whether you're doing it on the personal side or business side, is pretty much the same thing, right? The only difference is that on the business side is that you're borrowing debt or you're borrowing money, for a return on investment, whereas with personal stuff, you don't there's no return on investment factor, okay? Like, you don't wanna borrow $1,000,000 and only get $1 a day. That would be ridiculous, right? But, but if you borrowed $1,000,000 and then you got, the 1,000,000 back in, like, 1 year, that would be an insane return on investment, okay? So, just wanna think about that. And you could apply it to any income generated asset. I know, I think real estate in general is pretty much a safe bet if you know what you're doing. Like, if you buy, let's say, something that generates a lot of money, there's usually a lot more risks tied to that, right? But the real estate has like a moderate risk profile, in my opinion, especially if you buy it in like the right area. So, when it comes to rental properties, here's my personal philosophy, right? I don't think anybody should buy a rental property unless they feel comfortable that the tenant's not going to pay them rent, right? That will give you maximum security, and if the tenant doesn't pay you, oh well, kick them out, right? And so here we see in this situation that we make decent income, and if we, let's say, got an investment mortgage and the tenant does pay us, at least we're still positive, right? And so this is a good time to get into rental real estate. But if you did not know, the reason why I kind of warn people not to do rental real estate out of the bat is because the best case scenario, or one of the best case scenarios that you'll get, is only $200 a month in cash flow, right? So, quote, good cash flow is only about $200 a month. And so if it's going to be life or death situation, if the tenant pays you or not, for that $200 of cash flow, not a good time to get into a rental right now. There's other benefits to that rental than just the cash flow. And another important rule is to buy real estate at a discount, right? So if you kind of take a look here, actually, let me just go here. You'll see that I bought a property for about 200, in an area worth about 300, right? This is actually a 2-acre farm. And so yeah, $300,000 property for $200,000, right? And then if you buy it right, then you get a ton of equity and you built wealth like in an instant, right? So there's a saying in real estate or just in general that you make money on the buy, not when you sell. So you always got to buy it at a discount. So if I'm sorry, not zero. If Zillow says 500,000, you buy it for 300. Ooh, that's a pretty sweet deal, right? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna find properties that we can buy at a discount, and even if we do buy it at a discount, it's really hard to get cash flow, right? Because think about this. Okay, if $200 of cash flow is good, the in a course of 30 years, we're only going to get 72,000. And if we borrow that $200,000 from the bank's going to make 328,000. And you might be shocked, right? So let's assume that this is a $200,000 investment mortgage that we got. And then if we go to the full term, 360, you'll see that we paid $328,000 of interest. So, you as a landlord, you got to find the tenant, you got to manage the property, you got to fix stuff, maintenance and all that. And you're only making 72,000 over 30 years, assuming you're holding it for 30 years. No way. But with the bank, they're going to make 328,000 and they don't do anything at all. Nothing at all. But if we borrow money to get into deal, what if we combine our income and the tenant's income and to fully pay off the debt, right? And then we use something called a line of credit to help us do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and calculate the tenant's income, which we'll just assume is about $2,000, right? $2,000, but we're also going to assume that 70% of it um, is the net operating income, and 30% of it goes to expenses. So what we do is multiply by 0.7, right? And we see here, okay, that if we focus on paying off this debt, one debt at a time, and use our income and tenant's income, we should be able to pay it off relatively quickly. I mean, I've done this calculation before. First house should pay off about 4.4 years. So luckily, all I got to do is just put in this Velocity Banking calculator, and then we should be fine. So this is going to be 6,000 plus 1,400. So it'll be 6,000 plus 1,400, right? And then we see, bam, first house pays off in 4.4 years. Okay. Now we just, after 4.4 years, then we find the next house, $100,000 discount, $300,000 house for $200,000. We just do the same thing. And now we have two tenants, right? So what we do is just multiply by 2, get a new loan. Okay. And we're going to do that one more time. And then I'm just going to do this times 2. Okay. So now we have 2 tenants, but 1 loan. Bam. Second house pays off in 3.2 years, right? So, and then third one, we do the same thing, right? All we got to do is just multiply by 3. Okay, let's multiply this by 3. Now we got 3 tenants. And then bam, 2.5 years. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Nope. No emotion from a real life studio audience because this is apparently not that impressive, or people don't know how to react. All right, so 2.5 here, so you can kind of see in 10.1 years. What's the benefit? Well, basically, if we assume that each house is worth about $300,000 in equity, well, 300,000 times 3 means we have 900,000 equity, right? And if we do the math, right? So you just kind of take a look here. That if we just do, let's go back to the first house, which is about how much was it? 7,400 that we're making in income, right? 7,400. So let's just do this 7,400, 7,400, right? So we see that when we pay off first house, we pay about 36 grand of interest. Okay. So the bank is going to make about 36, 37 grand, but you're going to make about 430. And how do you know that? Well, you basically take one tenant's income, which is about 1,400, multiply it by 12, and then you multiply it by the number of years that you're going to hold it for, assuming it's 30, right? So 4.4 years, we're not going to take any money. So it's 30 minus 4.4. Hopefully I'm not going too fast, but just do 30 minus 4.4 and then just do this. And then you see that we make about $430,000 in cash flow. And so $430,000 of cash flow, we'll say multiply by 3. So that's, what's the true benefit over 30 years? Well, 1.2 million and 900,000 in equity. That's when we unlocked, right? And then what we do is once we paid off 3 homes, right? So we paid off 3 homes in about 10 years. Let's just do our personal home. Okay. This is going to be easy, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to find out what the balance of the personal home is. And how do we do that? Well, basically, we got to figure out what month this is. So I think it's just 10.1 times 12, which is 122 months. And I think I already did this already, 122 months. So all I got to do is just fill in the information here, right? So now this is 3%. All right, so $2,000 because 843.21. Because what we do is in the expense category, put everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off. All right, so we're going to try to pay off. We don't have this one anymore, so now what we're going to do is try to pay off this one. And then I'm just going to go in here. So 151, 112.24. So 151, 112.24. And then now same thing here. And then what's their current income? It is, we got 3 tenants, right? Okay, so we got 3 tenants here, and so that's going to be 10,200. So 10,200, 10,200, and then bam, paid off the personal home in 1.6 years. 1.6, so 1.6 years, and yeah, we're done. So basically, that's how we paid off 4 houses in about a little bit under 12 years, and no big deal. Nothing to see here. Move along, move along. It's kind of like Star Wars, right? Nothing you see here. Move along, move along. Ooh, not amazing. You know what's gonna be really impressive is when I actually meet the person in real life when I show this to them and they act really excited and want to learn because like every time I demonstrate this to people, I've never seen excitement in anybody's face. Never. And I'm just assuming is that they got the velocity banking poker face. I mean, I don't blame them, right? I'm just saying that's the society we live in. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for today, folks. This is Korean Atlanta mentorship, just paying off 3 homes in 10 years. Nothing to see here. Okay. Nothing to see here. All right. Well, that's it. And it's only 12 minutes, and I'm quite sleepy too. All right. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.